Some parents ask me about their child's fear and how should they deal with their child when their child has fear and has difficulty coping with their fear by manifesting crying and maybe throwing a temper tantrum. And it's most important to understand that the first 3 years of life are most important in a child's development. Even more important than the first 3 years of life are the first 9 months when the child has to develop a healthy emotional attachment with at least one adult. So if a child happens to carry the gene for being shy, slow to warm up, maybe being fearful, that's genetic. And it will get worse if we draw attention to it. So here's the 2 factors that are most important to understand. Every time a baby cries, some adult in the household needs to pick up the baby and give the baby eye contact. Hold the baby until they stop crying. Now, some children are much more difficult to raise than other children, and that's a genetic personality trait. You can't change it. So if a child is born with a trait for being fearful, they have a genetic predisposition for being more fearful than other people, it is crucial that during infancy, every time they cry, someone is picking them up. And not just picking them up, but also looking at them, giving them eye contact while you're picking them up and holding them. That does not mean giving them kisses or talking to them or saying, "Oh, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying." No, you should say nothing while you're comforting the child with gentle, appropriate touch, with physically holding the child. But about the time that the child is able to walk by himself, the rules change in child development. Then, when your child cries or your child appears afraid of something, pay zero attention to it. Let the child come to you for comfort. Never say, "Oh, come to mommy, I'll comfort you." Never. In the first year of life, before the child can walk, always go to the child and physically comfort the child when they're crying. After they're able to ambulate, we call walking ambulation. Once they're able to walk, then the rules change, and you have to not approach the child when they're fearful, but wait for the child to figure out how to, by him or herself, walk over to you and then put their arms out to be held. And that's when you comfort them. Research is crystal clear that if you pick up a baby, no matter which of the 12 personality traits they carry, and fearfulness is one of those personality traits that some children have, and some children have it at a more intense level than other children. If a child carries the gene for fearfulness, it was inherited from either mama's side of the family or baba's side of the family. So you can't undo that. Rather, Pick up every crying baby as soon as you hear the baby cry, as soon as possible, and do not do what social media might suggest. Practice letting the child self-soothe. That's a ridiculous term that was created just 30 years ago by a Harvard professor, and he has written many publications to talk about how he wished he never coined that term, because that term he was applying to toddlers, not infants. Always pick up a crying infant, no matter what grandmother says. Always pick up a crying infant, and if they carry the gene for fearfulness, you might have to hold them for a longer period of time. Just hold them without any kissing. Just hold them so they feel safe. And then as they grow older, they'll be able to cope with stress even though they carry the gene for being more fearful than other people. That does not mean that every child carries a gene for fearfulness. Some children do, some children don't. Some children carry the gene for fearfulness that's mild. Some carry the gene for fearfulness that's more moderate. Some carry the gene at a more severe level. And so that means every time a baby cries, because you don't know which genes they inherited, pick up the crying baby, and every time a child is now able to walk by themselves, just stay where you are. Example, if you're in the kitchen and the child is in the living room and they start crying, don't go to them. Wait for them to walk into the kitchen to you, put their arms out, and then immediately pick the child up to provide comfort. The research is very clear that mothers, or significant others is the medical term we use for parenting figure, who attaches to a child emotionally. A child who gets picked up in the first year of life, every time they cry, will cry less frequently by the time they're 2. So the answer is always pick up a crying baby, and if they happen to carry the gene for fearfulness at some degree, mild, moderate, or severe, then you just need to comfort the child, but after they come to you, if they're over 1. Thank you for listening. Parents often ask, is it developmentally appropriate to say to a child, "Bravo, you're a hero," or clap your hands when they complete a task that you want them to complete? And the unequivocal answer is, it's not developmentally appropriate. If we want the child to complete a task, then use, in first person singular, a reinforcement like, "I did it," to reinforce the child's behavior. Thank you.